everybody, and welcome. I am your Florida high school counselor, and today we're going to be discussing the Florida Bright Futures scholarships. There are 4 Bright Futures scholarships available to Florida students to work towards, and all of them have some general requirements for eligibility, which are listed here. To briefly summarize them, you have to be a Florida resident and a U.S. citizen or eligible non-citizen. You have to complete your Florida financial aid application no later than August 31st after your high school graduation. Now, any school counselor in Florida is going to be chasing their seniors to complete the Florida financial aid application as early as October of their senior year. I don't know a school counselor who is content with you leaving in May or June without this being completed. But you technically have until August 31st, but we would like to see you have it completed as early as October of your senior year. You have to earn your Florida high school diploma. You cannot be found guilty or pled nolo contendere to any felony charge. You have to be accepted by and enroll in a degree or certificate program at an eligible Florida public or independent post-secondary institution. You have to be enrolled for at least 6 non-remedial semester credit hours in college. Honestly, I can't see any student being eligible for a Bright Futures scholarship and requiring remedial classes. So this is kind of really, I'll just say it's kind of silly. I don't know anyone who's going to qualify for a Bright Futures scholarship but require remedial courses. But nonetheless, you have to be in at least 6 credit hours of non-remedial courses in college. And it is not funded in the academic year immediately following high school graduation. If it is not funded within the first year immediately following high school graduation, you have to apply within 5 years to have your award reinstated. So you would complete your financial aid application in 12th grade, and then say you didn't use it, you would have 5 years to apply to have it reinstated. Now, some additional specific requirements for the Florida Academic Scholarship and the Florida Medallion Scholarship. You have to graduate from a Florida public high school with a Florida high school diploma. There is an alternative pathway for students who are Florida residents but may be out of state, attending an out-of-state high school because their parent is active duty military. You have to complete the high school coursework that is required for each scholarship, achieve the minimum GPA for each scholarship, the minimum ACT, SAT, or college entrance exam for each scholarship, and the number of service hours. So we're going to look at the Florida Academic Scholarship first. The Florida Academic Scholarship requires 16 high school course credits. I put a check mark over the first core content. These are the 4 English, 4 math, 3 science, and 3 social studies. The green check mark is because to earn your high school diploma, you're automatically going to have to take these credits. So we know this is a sure thing right here. Now, you do have to take 2 years of a world language. It has to be the same language. So that would be Spanish 1, Spanish 2, French 1, French 2, American Sign Language 1, American Sign Language 2, etc. You cannot do 2 years of different languages. So you cannot do French 1, Spanish 1. That would not count. You also have to earn a 3.5 GPA. You have to earn a 29 composite on your ACT or SAT, or 1330 on your SAT, and then 100 hours of community service. For the Florida Medallion Scholarship, it's the same course required courses, the English, math, science, social studies, 2 years of foreign language, except for the GPA requirement falls to a 3.0. Test scores drop a little. On the ACT, you need a composite score of 25, and on the SAT, you need a combined score of 1210. And I should note on the SAT, it's referring to the evidence-based reading and writing and math portions only combined, and then 75 hours of community service. For the foreign language requirement, there is a credit by examination option. So if you are a native speaker, reader, writer of a foreign language, you can go to this website here, or you can Google the Bright Future Student Handbook and navigate to page 4 and then click this link, and it does list a list of eligible exams that you can take and the required score to meet the foreign language requirement through a credit by examination option. The Gold Seal CAPE Scholarship is a scholarship available to students who are pursuing a career education or a certificate program, or an associate in science degree program. The eligibility requirements include a minimum of 5 post-secondary credit hours earned through a CAPE industry certification that articulate to college credit, and 30 hours of community service. So if you earn the Gold Seal CAPE, it would apply towards your associate in science degree, and then it will articulate to also assisting with paying for a Bachelor of Science degree. Then we have the Gold Seal Vocational Scholarship. This one requires a 3.0 GPA in your non-elective high school courses. So going back to the other 2 scholarships, that's referring to your English, math, science, social studies. And then you have to have 3 credits in a single career and technical education program. So for example, an allied health program, or the web design program, or your marketing program. It has to be the same program. You couldn't take 3 separate credits and 3 separate programs and qualify for this program. The purpose for that is the state and our workforce is really looking for students to leave career ready with certifications, and we want you to be able to complete that career technical training in high school. So it's 3 full credits in the same program. And then within that career technical education program, you have to maintain a 3.5 unweighted GPA in those courses. And then on your ACT, SAT, or PERT, you have to meet the minimum score requirement, which will be on one of the following slides, and then 30 hours of community service. These are the score requirements here for the Gold Seal Vocational. We have the ACT, SAT, and PERT. Now, when we talk about GPA, specific to the Florida Academic, the Medallion, and the Gold Seal, when we reference GPA, Bright Futures is only calculating your GPA based on your grades in those core classes. So those 16 courses, the 4 English, 4 math, 3 science, 3 social studies, 2 years of foreign language, okay? This is not the GPA that's on your report card. This is not the GPA that you see on a transcript if you request an official or an unofficial copy of your transcript. In order to access your Bright Futures GPA, you will have to go to your school counselor and ask for your school counselor to print for you from the online portal your Bright Futures evaluation. You should be receiving a copy of this annually, at least once a year from your school counselor, but if you want to see it more frequent or at some point an updated copy, you can always just ask for one. All right, so a little bit more explanation on the test scores. So when we look at your ACT score for the Bright Futures scholarships, it's looking at the average score in the English, math, reading, and science, which is compromising or which calculate together for your composite score. For your SAT, like I had said earlier, the SAT score is only looking at your evidence-based reading and writing and math sections combined. There is no maximum number of times you can take your ACT, SAT. So as many times as you need to take it in high school to hit that score requirement, you can. Now, in order for Bright Futures to receive your test scores, when you are completing the those questions at the start of your ACT or SAT, where do you want your scores to be sent? You do have to identify at least one Florida university to send your scores to, just so that your scores then end up in the repository. You cannot send them to Florida Polytechnic University for this purpose, but you can send them to any other university. That will simply get your scores into the repository, and then the Bright Futures evaluation will capture that score. And like I said, even if you have no intention of going to that university, you could select that school as the school just to have the scores sent to. All right, so test scores, let's just take a minute to look at these test scores. So for the Florida Academic Scholarship, it's going to require a 29 on your ACT. So what does that mean? If you earn a 29 on your ACT, that's putting you at the 91st percentile, okay? That means that you're scoring higher than 91% of all of the test takers on the ACT. A 1330 on the SAT, that also places you in the top 90th percentile out of the 1.7 million test takers on the SAT exam. And then looking at the test score requirement for the Florida Medallion scholarship, that requirement of a 25 on the ACT, that composite score, is placing you at the 78th percentile. And the score requirement on the SAT of 1210 is placing you at the 75th percentile. So why am I telling you this? Well, clearly the academic scholarship is expecting you to score better than roughly 90% of all test takers nationally. The Medallion scholarship is expecting you to test better than 3/4 of your peers. So statistically, you need to know as the student, as the parent, that to score what you need to score, the majority of students are going to require prep, and more prep. So I personally love the Khan Academy SAT Prep. It's free for all students. It doesn't matter what grade level you're in. If you complete 15 hours of practice on the Khan Academy SAT Prep, you can expect to see anywhere between a 90 to a 140-point gain from one SAT to the next, with the single variable being those 15 hours of practice with Khan Academy. Kaplan also has ACT prep. It's not free unless you qualify for a fee waiver and you register for the ACT with a fee waiver, which means you're not eligible for a fee waiver until 11th or 12th grade, and it's based on your family size and income. So that means there are some students that won't qualify for the free Kaplan ACT prep, which is a disadvantage compared to the Khan Academy SAT prep. The other disadvantage is it then restricts you to the free access in 11th and 12th grade, whereas Khan Academy is free 9 through 12. So I tend to direct my students to the SAT prep through Khan Academy, unless 11th grade, 12th grade comes around and they qualify for the free Kaplan ACT prep. But nonetheless, prep, and more prep is going to be required. All right, so community service. So each of the scholarships did have a different number of community service hour requirements. The academic, 100, the medallion, 75, the gold seal, 100. It's going to be pretty consistent district by district across the state. Each county should have a set of community service pre-approval forms in your school counseling office or on your school's website. It's going to be important to get those community service hours pre-approved with your school counselor to know what activities or hours count, and get those recorded at least once or twice a year with your school counselor so you're not turning them all in at once. And it also serves as a good checks and balances just to make sure that the activities you're doing continue to meet the requirements for community service for Bright Futures. Now, there are some potential changes pending for 2023 as it relates to community service. This is outlined in House Bill 461. I did copy and paste the bill to the right. Essentially, what it will provide is it will provide students the opportunity to use paid work hours in lieu of volunteer service hours to qualify for their Bright Futures scholarships. This has not been signed off by Governor DeSantis yet, but as soon as it is or is not passed, I will put an update out there for you guys. Other ways to qualify for the Bright Futures scholarships are outlined here. The ACE curriculum alternative pathway to qualify is outlined here. And then using the IB curriculum or IB diploma is another alternative pathway. Okay, so the Florida financial aid application, I did talk about this earlier in today's discussion. So you apply for your Bright Future Scholarship your senior year. You work towards it all 4 years as far as GPA, earning the test scores, gaining your community service hours, but you're not actually going to apply until senior year. The application typically opens up in October. You don't have to have it completed until August 31st after you graduate. I don't feel comfortable with that for any of my students. My expectation is you apply in October. There's no sense in not applying in October. And a question I often receive is, well, I don't have my community service hours done. Can I still apply? Yes, you're going to complete your application for your Bright Future Scholarship, even if all the requirements are not met. You're essentially just saying, hi, state of Florida, if at the end of the school year I qualify for a Bright Future Scholarship, then I want my Bright Future Scholarship, okay? Now, a big fact to know is if you qualify for a Bright Futures Scholarship, but you do not apply by the deadline of August 31st after you graduate, you will not receive your Bright Futures Scholarship. So that application is absolutely vital. Once you do have your Florida Financial Aid application on file, you can track your application and your award status online through your OFSA account. Now, if you complete your Bright Futures evaluation as early as October, November, December, you should receive an early evaluation in January. If you wait until later, you won't receive your final evaluation until July. Students who are IB or ACE diploma candidates who are using that alternative pathway for eligibility for their scholarships won't be notified until July either. Now, if you are a student who is enlisting in the military, you do have an option to defer your scholarship. Also, if you are a student who is going to participate in a religious or service obligation after high school, you can also defer your scholarship. There is a process, so you just want to make sure that you pull up the Bright Futures Handbook for continued eligibility and go to Chapter 3 for more information. It doesn't extend the amount of time you have for the scholarship. That is something key to know. You only have 5 years from graduation to use your Bright Futures Scholarship. Now, earlier I had mentioned that you could see your school counselor and request a copy of your Bright Futures evaluation. To the right here, I kind of have a sample of what this evaluation is going to look like. So when you receive it, at the top, you are going to have your highest test scores for your ACT and SAT and PERT. You can kind of ignore CPT, that's the college placement test. No one is really using that test anymore. And then in the mid-center of your report, it's going to look a little odd, but this should help you understand what you're looking at. It's going to essentially have 3 columns. The left being the Florida academic evaluation, the center being the Medallion, and then to the right being the Gold Seal Vocational. And essentially what it's going to do for each scholarship here, it's going to show you the number of credits that you have in each subject area. For that scholarship, it's going to show you your core Bright Futures GPA, emphasizing core. So for example, right here it says 4.11. That's that student's GPA only in English, Math, Science, Social Studies, Foreign Language. And then at the bottom of each column, it's going to have the title of missing and then a little list. And it's going to list the eligibility requirements that are still missing for you. So as a 9th grader, you're going to have a long list of missing requirements. And then hopefully by senior year, you're going to have few to no missing requirements for the scholarship that you're working towards. All right, so when you enroll in your program, some just additional requirements. You have to have earned your high school diploma. You have to be a Florida resident or U.S. citizen or eligible non-citizen. You have to enroll as a degree or certificate seeking student at an eligible Florida post-secondary institution after high school graduation. You have to be in at least 6 credit hours of non-remedial coursework. And if you choose not to use your Bright Futures Scholarship the year immediately following your high school graduation, you have to apply within 5 years of your high school graduation to have the award reinstated. But it doesn't exceed beyond 5 years from graduation. Okay, and then here we have a chart that just summarizes the length of each scholarship award, and it's quite a bit to read through, but you can pause the video and then read through this. Now the award amounts for the Florida Academic Scholarship, this is going to cover 100% of your tuition and applicable fees at any Florida public institution. That could be a Florida public university, it could be a Florida State Community College, but it's going to cover 100%. Now, if you were to go to a private school in the state of Florida, there is a private award amount chart that tells you how much you would receive at the private school. The Florida Medallion Scholarship, this is going to pay 75% of your tuition and applicable fees at a public university. If you go to a private university, there is a chart on the following slides that shows how much it'll pay for you to attend a private university, okay? But if you earn the Medallion Scholarship and you decide to do a 2+2 pathway, where you go to like a state community college for 2 years and then transition to the university, the first 2 years at the state community college is actually going to be covered 100%. And then when you transition to the university, at a public university, it'll transition to 75%. If you transition to a private university, it would be the dollar amount from the private award chart. And then here we do have the Bright Futures private award amounts. So if you were to go to a private university in the state of Florida, and you earned the Bright Futures Florida Academic Scholarship, you're at a 4-year university, you would get $211 per credit hour. Now, when it comes to college classes, each college class is usually 3 to 4 credit hours. So to put this in terms of how much money would you get per class, let's say it's a 3 credit hour class, you would get about $630 towards that class. And then this is the award amounts for the Medallion Scholarship. Same situation if it's a private university in the state of Florida. And then if it's a 2-year private institution or a private vocational technical school. And then the Gold Seal Vocational Scholarship and Gold Seal CAPE scholarships, they are also dollar amount per semester or per quarter hour, and then also clock hour. Some degree pathways are going to have you participate in a certain number of clock hours, and this is that reimbursement or disbursement rate to the school. Just some scholarship restrictions and limitations. So all of the Bright Futures hours are paid at the undergraduate level. The Bright Futures Scholarship will not pay for remedial coursework. Once again, I can't see anyone eligible for a Bright Futures Scholarship requiring remedial coursework. The Gold Seal CAPE and Gold Seal Vocational Scholarships, they can only be used at institutions that have an applied technology diploma, technical degree education program like an Associates in Science or an Associates in Applied Science degree, or a career certificate program. However, once that student earns a qualifying Associates in Science degree or an Associates in Applied Science degree, they may receive funding subsequent to that for their Bachelor's of Science or Bachelor's of Applied Science degree for another 60 credit hours, which calculates out to about another 2 years. Okay. Now there are some circumstances where your Bright Futures Scholarship may pay for up to 15 credit hours of your graduate degree courses. So 15 credit hours is about 5 classes. So there is an instance where you could have up to 5 graduate degree courses paid for, but they would be paid for at the undergraduate rate. So there would still be a lingering balance on those classes for you. But this would be for those students who finish their bachelor's degree in 7 or fewer semesters, or in 105 semester hours or fewer. So who are those students going to be? Those would be those students who leave high school with quite a few dual enrollment college credits, or AP, ACE, IB, DE college credits. And that sums it up, guys. So there was a lot of information to go over. If you have any questions or comments or feedback, feel free to put it in the comments. Like and subscribe if you would like to stay updated as I publish additional content for Florida high school students and parents. And of course, I will be putting out that update regarding the community service once Governor DeSantis chooses to sign or not sign that into law. Thank you. Bye.